Yeah. So please be concentrate. Exception handling. So exception means it's a runtime error. Okay. Whenever you are executing the program, if you are facing any error, because of that error, the program is terminated abnormally. So you will lose the data. So to handle that kind of errors, we will use exception handling mechanism. Right. So exception means it's a runtime error which is occurred at a runtime. So execution time. Right. So what is the problem with the exception? We already discussed in the morning session. Suppose the code is like this. We discussed in the morning session. Yeah. So suppose you written some 100 lines of code. In those 100 lines of code, if there is a chance to raise the exception at line number 1 itself, so the remaining lines of code it will not execute. So because of this runtime error, so remaining lines of code will not be executed. The program will be terminated abnormally. Right? So suppose if you recruit 100 employees and if you develop a software, so 100 employees are did their work gratefully. So but because of some runtime error at line number 1, the system got failed. So remaining code will not be executed. That will be abnormal termination. So you spend so much amount of money on the employees, the program is terminated abnormally without executing the remaining program because of runtime error. Right? If there are runtime errors, the program will be terminated abnormally. So how to handle this? By using exception handling mechanism. Right. So we already tried this one. Right. First line exception is there at line number 6. Remaining statements will not be executed. Suppose this if you cut and paste here, so first 10 lines will be executed, remaining lines will not be executed. If you cut here and if you paste somewhere, so first statements will be executed, remaining statements will not be executed. You already saw. Right. So for that, for handling the exception, we will use exception handling mechanism. So in the exception handling mechanism, we are using try, catch, finally, throw, throws, assert keyword. Right. So we will discuss one by one. Right. So first, before going to discuss all these things, first we need to understand what is a runtime mechanism. Right. Right. So runtime stack mechanism. First, you need to understand this. So runtime stack mechanism concept. So what is this runtime stack mechanism? I will explain with one program. Right. So I will write a program here. Please concentrate on that. So I am writing a class ABCD class. So inside this class, so I have regularly main method. Main method. Inside this main method, what I will do? So I will call m1 method. Okay. So I will call m1 method. I am calling m1 method. Okay. This is only method call, not a. This is method. This is method call. Inside a method, you can make a call to another method. Right. So method you can write outside. So I am writing a method m1. So this method is with the body. So if you want to call this method must be static method. Please concentrate. So this method must be static method, right? Static method. So from this method, you are calling one more method, m2 method. So to call this m2 method, this m1 method is a static method. M2 method must be static, right? So from m2 also, I am calling one more method, m3 method. So why I am calling, you will understand. So m3 method is calling from static method. So automatically this will be static only, right? So inside this M3 method, I will write only one statement, nothing else. How are you? Right? So if I compile and execute this program, what will happen? Please concentrate. So actually, who will call the main method? Who will call the main method? JVM will call the main method. So what the JVM will do? First JVM, consider this as a JVM. So JVM will call main method, you know that. JVM. Right. So JVM will call. So before calling the main method, first it will create a thread. Okay. So I am not discussing thread, just consider it will create a thread. So what it will do? It will create a thread. Thread means consider one person. Thread. So the thread name is, the person name is main thread, right? So main method, inside the main method, there is a code to create a thread. The thread, at the time of creating a thread, it will give the name as a main thread, right? So what the main thread do? So first, before it starting the execution, so first the main thread will start a process, stack mechanism. So stack means, so stack will be like this. So first in, last out, right? So stack will be like this. So I hope you might be know as part of data structures. So stack, how the stack will work. So it contains, so different, based on the size, the stack will be created. So if you are using arrays concept, size will be there. If you are using linked list concept, size will not be there, right? So consider this is a stack. So who will create the stack? The main thread will create the stack, right? So JVM, first it will create a thread. So for every, for the thread, the name is main thread. For every thread, so there is a runtime stack mechanism. Suppose if you create, JVM will create only one thread. Suppose if you create 10 threads, for every thread there is a stack, right? So as of now, our program is executing by main thread. So main thread, what the main thread will do? First it will create the stack. Before executing the main method, it will create a stack. So what it will insert inside this stack? For every method call, there is a entry in this stack. So consider, for every method call, there is a entry in the runtime stack. So that means it was created a runtime stack. This is the stack. So if there is a method call, so it will enter into the stack. Okay. So now observe in our program. So main thread is created. So JVM created the main thread. So main thread created this runtime stack. After this, it will call the main method. So main method. So this is a method call. This is a method. This is a method call. So what it will do? It will write this method call entry in this stack. So what it will do? It will write a entry in this stack. Right. So what it will write? So it is trying to push some data here. It will try to push some data here. So what it will push? So it will push the main method name, right? So main method name it will push here. That means here main, right? So first it created empty stack. So first it was calling main method. That is a method call. So the method call is entered into this stack, right? So program is execution started. So main method is called. So from main method, it is calling M1 method. This is a method call. So if this is a method call, what it has to do? Again, it will push this method call into that stack, right? So next time what it will do? It will push next data. Next data means next entry. So what it will push? It will push the method name main. Sorry, M1 method. M1 method. So every entry is called stack frame. Okay, so whatever the stack is there, so here main entry is there, then m1 entry is there, m2 entry is there, m3 entry is there. So whatever the entry is there, that is called stack frame, right? So you can write. So this is called stack frame. If required, you can. So then from M1 method, so you are calling M1 method. So automatically cursor will come to M1 method. It is trying to execute this. So what is there inside the M1 method is there is a method call again. For every method call, there is an entry in the runtime stack. So that means again, so M3 method will be entered. M2 method will be entered. Right. So I am not writing all the things. Right. Please concentrate. M2 method. So then from M2 method, so it will go to M2 method. M2 method is calling M3 method. So that means that is a call. So again for M3 method, so there is an entry in the stack. So M3 method entry is there. After that, so M3 method will be called. M3 method will print this line. This means this is not a method call. So this is directly statement execution. Right. Hello, sorry, how are you statement will be printed on the console. After that, you don't have any other statements in the M3 method. So that means M3 method execution is completed. So in this case, it will print in the output screen, it will print how are you. Then M3 method is completed. Once the M3 method is completed, so the entry will be removed from the stack. So M3 method will be removed from the stack. Right. So next level, so M3 will be removed from the stack. That means execution is completed. Once the method execution is completed, it will remove the entry from the stack. So the cursor will automatically will come back to M2. So if M2 is there are any statements, if there are any statements like this, if there are any statements, then those statements will be executed. That means in the output screen, so it will be printed from M2. So consider this is a output screen. So M2 will be printed. So after that, you don't have any other statements in the M2 method. So automatically, so M2 will be removed. So M2 will be removed from the stack. M2 method call will be removed from the stack. So it's got removed. Right. So after that, the cursor will come back to M1 method. You already know first main method is there, main method to M1 method, M1 to M2, M2 to M3. So M3 is completed, M3 entry is removed. So after that, which has to execute? M2 has to execute. M2 is executing, M2 is printed, M2 completed, M2 removed, again it will go to M1. Right. So M1 will be called. So if there is anything inside the M1, so M1 will be completed. After that, M1 entry will be removed from the stack. Right. So M1 entry will be removed from the stack. M1 is completed. So by that time, it will be printed from M1. Right. So then, so M1 is completed. What is there in inside the stack? Only main method is there. So inside the main method, if there are any statements, the statements will be executed. So in this case, so in the output screen, it will be printed from main method. Right. So main method also completed. Main method also completed. So it will remove the entry of main method. It will remove the entry of main method. Main method is also removed. You don't have any other statements to execute. So now the stack will be destroyed, right? So now the stack will be destroyed. So that means it will remove this entry, right? So stack will be destroyed, stack got destroyed. So after that main thread will be terminated. So main thread will be terminated, then JVM will be stopped. Main thread terminated, then JVM will be stopped. Right. So in this way execution process will be there, right? So first JVM will start, then it will create a thread. So thread name is main thread. Main thread will create a runtime stack. For every method call, there is an entry in this stack. So first it is calling a main method. From main method, it is calling M1, M1 to M2, M2 to M3. So from M3, you have a statement, how are you? How are you is printed. After that, M3 nothing is there. So M3 will be removed. M3 will be removed from the stack and it will goes to M2. So M2 will be executed. From M2, it will be printed this statement. So M2 nothing is there. It will come to M1. So M1 will be printed this one. So M1 will be removed from the stack. It will come to main. So main will be printed. So nothing is there main. So stack is empty. So now the stack will be destroyed. After that, the thread will be terminated. Then JVM will be shut down. Right? This is the process happening at the back end. Right. So we'll see here. Right. So compile this program. ఇక్కడమ్మా ఇక్కడ అర్థం కాలే ఇక్కడ దీంట్లోనా ఇన్స్టెన్స్ మెథడ్ని స్టాటిక్లో కాల్ చేయొచ్చమ్మా. ఒక నిమిషం, లెట్ మీ కంప్లీట్ దిస్. సో ఐ విల్ డిస్కస్. ఓకే, సో ఫ్లో కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయిందా చెప్తాను. ఓకేనా, ఒక నిమిషం చెప్తాను, నేను అడిగిన పాయింట్ చెప్తాను. లెట్ మీ కంప్లీట్ దిస్. రైట్. సో this is the process. Just compile and execute abcd.java, executing. So you are getting these statements. So whatever I was written here, so you are getting these statements. Now, so you need to understand what is a stack trace concept. So stack trace, suppose if there is any error here, suppose if there is any runtime error is there. If I am trying to compile and execute, observe what will happen. Hello. Yeah. So now observe. So if there is a runtime error here, runtime error at line number 21. So actually method calls are happened from main method to M1, M1 to M2, M2 to M3. So while executing M3, there is a runtime error. If runtime error is there, so program terminated abnormally. That means the remaining part of M2 is not executed. So remaining part of M1 is not executed. Remaining part of main method is not executed. So from this line onwards, the program is terminated abnormally. So while terminating the program abnormally, so it is giving some information to the programmer. So what is the information it is giving? So it is providing three details. So observe here, first one is this one. It is providing three details to the programmer. First one is what is the exception name. So what is the exception name it will give. So why the exception is coming. So it will give little bit description. So first exception name with a fully qualified name. This is fully qualified name and exception description. Then this is called stack trace. So from where the exception was raised. So if the exception is raised at line number 21, so from which method? M3 method. So who called that M3 method? M2 method is called. At what line number? 16 line number it was called. So who called M2 method? M1 is called. Who called M1 method? Main is called. So who called main method? JVM is called. So everything is there as part of the exception details. So this is called stack mechanism. So you are able to get these details. So they are maintaining at the back end, they are maintaining this tag information. So now as part of M3, so you got the exception. So it is collecting this stack information, entire stack information. I written only method names. So it was written from where the it is calling, from which line number it is calling, all the details it is maintaining. So if there is an exception, it will printing the except stack details, total stack details as a stack trace. This is called stack trace. So if there is an exception, so it is giving the information, JVM giving the information to the programmer. So with the three details, one is exception name, exception description, exception stack trace. With the three details it is providing. So actually who will provide these details? As part of the JVM, there is a default exception handler. Default exception handler is there. So that is a component of JVM. So it will take care about this exception details. Right. So this is the default exception handling mechanism. Programmer also can write the exception handling mechanism, that is called customized exception handling. Right. So this is default exception handling that will be taken care by the JVM. Programmer also can handle the exceptions in his own way. So by using try, catch, finally, throw, throws, and assert keywords. Right. So we will learn that one. So any doubts in this? Any doubts? Runtime stack mechanism. Do you have any doubts? Right. సో చెప్పమ్మా ఇందాక లేదు అడిగావు మెయిన్. సో ఇక్కడ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్ లేదు, ఇక్కడ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్ లేదు. సో ఇప్పుడు కాల్ చేయొచ్చా అని అడిగావా? మస్ట్ అండ్ షుడ్గా ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి ఆబ్జెక్ట్ రెఫరెన్స్ ద్వారా వీటిని కాల్ చేయాలి. సో రన్ టైమ్ స్టాక్లో ఎలా ఫిల్ అవుతాయి? స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్ నాన్ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్ ఉంటే ఎలా ఫిల్ అవుతాయి అంటున్నారా? ఇప్పుడు ఇలా ఉంది రైట్. సో ఇలా M1 మెథడ్, M2 మెథడ్, M3 మెథడ్ ఇలా అన్ని నాన్ స్టాటిక్ మెథడ్స్ అంటే ఇన్స్టాన్స్ మెథడ్స్. ఇన్స్టాన్స్ మెథడ్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు యూ మస్ట్ క్రియేట్ ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ abcd some a equal to new abcd, right? You created object using that reference, you will call a dot m1. So if you are able to call a dot m1, so first starting point is there. From m1 you can call m2, from m2 you can call m3, from m3 you can execute this line. So something is there, some statement. Hello, how are you? Is there? So just compile it. Are you facing any compile time error or not? You are not getting any error. So here you are not calling a dot m3, you are not calling a dot m2, you are not calling. So here you must call a dot m1. Otherwise you just write a instance block. From the instance block you can call m1 method, no problem, right? So if you don't want to call from here, you can write a instance block. So from the instance block you can call m1 method without using the reference. So compile it, you don't get any compile time error. So you are getting. So if you execute the program also, you will get the output. You are getting the result, right? So now your doubt. So how it will maintain the stack mechanism? So same way, this is a method call, right? This is a method call. So when this method call is happening, so first 1 minute. హలో హలో చెప్పు గణేష్, ఎలా ఉన్నావు? ఏం సంగతిలో? పర్లేదు గణేష్. దాని గురించి అయినా వేరే ఏమైనా కాల్ చేసావా? నేను బాగున్నాను, ఎలా ఉన్నావు నువ్వు? ఎక్కడ వరకు వచ్చింది? అక్కడే ఉంటావా? అవునా? అంటే 2 months 3 months అవును. ఆ! ఎలా ఉంది మరి కరోనా? ఆ! ఆహా! ఆహాహా! ఆ! 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 ఆహాహా! అది. హ్మ్. ఆ! అందరూ బానే ఉన్నారు. కాసేపాగి కాల్ చేస్తాను నేను మళ్ళీ. క్లాస్‌లో ఉన్నాను. రైట్ మ్యామ్. Yeah. So in this case also what will happen? So first it will JVM will create a main thread. So main thread will create a runtime stack. So from the runtime stack it will call the main method. So from the main method, so whenever you are creating an object, whenever you created an object, this is a statement. So you created object. So at the time, so initial steps will be completed. Initial step means identification of instance members. So execution of instance blocks. So while executing the instance block, there is a method call. M1 method call is there. If method call is there, it will enter the method call into the main method. So M1 will be entered. So from M1, so automatically M2 is there. So that is a method call. This is a method call. So it will maintain the same stack. So it will maintain the same. So we are not discussing the variables, we are discussing the method calls. Even if it is a static method. Right. Right. So any doubts? Are you able to hear me? Right, right. Right. So runtime stack mechanism, I hope you are able to understand. Right. So runtime stack mechanism. So you are getting the some information, right? Who is forwarding this information to you? Highlighted information. So that means exception name, exception description, stack trace. So who is collecting this information? So you are getting these details, right? Right. So inside the JVM, there is a component that means that is a set of programs. So those set of programs are called so default exception handling, right? So using the default exception handling, so we are able to get the details. So whenever it is performing the default exception handling, what will happen? We will try to understand, right? Suppose here there is a statement, so 10 by 0, right? So in this case, what will happen? Here it will throw in some exception. So if there is an exception, immediately it will not throw the error. It will not throw the exception details. So first it will check, is there any exception handling code in this method or not? If there is an exception handling code, so that will be executed normally. The program will not be terminated abnormally. So exception handling code means, so you will learn slowly, but at this moment I am writing some statement. So try catch blocks I am adding here. Just a try catch. Don't think much if you don't know. So I added something. Exception E. Nothing great. Right. So in this case, what will happen? Exception is there. If exception is there, in earlier case, what is happening? So it is throwing in the exception details, all these things. Now what I written some code to handle the exception. If I handle the exception, so what will happen? Exception is raised. First it will check exception handling code is there or not. Yes, exception handling code is there. So in this case, so remaining program will be executed normally. Right. So if I execute this program, compile, execute, so you are not getting any error. So this is executing normally. So M3 method code is not there. Why? Because I removed it. I thrown exception. Suppose the statements are not here, and you written here as part of this. So please concentrate. Right. So see, first exception is raising at line number 31. So first it will verify is there any exception handling code. Exception handling code is not there. In this case, what will happen? In this case, exception handling code is not there, so it won't print this statement. This line is not there, so exception is there, exception handling code is not there. Then what will happen? This method entry will be removed from the stack, and it will verify who called that m3 method. M2 method is called, and inside this M2 method it will verify is there any exception handling code first. Okay, so first it will try to execute the M3 method. While executing the M3 method, there is an exception. In this case, what will happen? So it won't throw the exception, it won't terminate immediately. So first it will execute, it will try to verify exception handling code is there or not. If the code is not there, it will remove the entry, and it will terminate the M1 method abnormally, and it will go and verify is as part of the M2 exception handling code is there or not. So I hope you are getting the point. Right, so what happened, ma? Main method, right, static. M1 method, what happened? Yes, tell me what is the problem. So here you are not calling M1 method, M2 method, M3 method. That's why you are not getting any output. You didn't call M1 method. See, ABC class is there, main method is there, main method open close, that's it. So M1 method, M2 method, M3 method, M4 method, 4 methods you have. So but you are not at all calling M1 method. If you call M1 method, then you will get the error. So from main method you just call M1. Right. Right. So please concentrate. So M3 method is there. As part of M3 method, so there is an exception. If the exception is there, first it will verify is there any exception handling code. If the exception handling code is not there, remaining statements it won't execute. So remaining statements are there. Suppose remaining statements are there. So these statements will not be executed. So it will be terminated abnormally. That means the method, only M3 method will be terminated abnormally, and the method entry will be removed from the stack. So please concentrate on these points. Important only, right? So based on this topic only, you will get the objective type questions, right? So M3 method is there. M3 method is there. As part of M3 method, there is an exception. If the exception is there, so first it will verify is there any exception handling surrounded with this line. So if the exception handling code is not there, remaining statements of M3 method, will not be executed, and the method entry from the stack will be removed. The method entry from the stack will be removed, and it will go to M2 method. It will go to M2 method, and it will verify as part of M2 method where you call the M3 method. So it will verify is there any exception handling code is there or not. If exception handling code is there as part of M2 method or not. If as part of M2 method, if the exception handling code is not there, then it will terminate M2 method also. But here M2 method exception handling code is there. So in this case, so it won't terminate M2 method abnormally. It will execute the remaining lines of code of M2 normally. If the process is completed, it will go back to M1 method and it will execute, and main method it will execute. This is normal termination. Only M3 will be abnormal termination. Right. See in this case, so what is the output? So expected output is in this case. So these lines will not be executed. Why? Because you are getting exception here. So exception is there. These lines will not be executed. So this is abnormal termination of M3 method. So it will go to M2 method. M2 method is handling exception. Exception handling mechanism is there. So this will execute it. then it will go to M1, it will execute it, then it will go to main, it will execute it. Right. Only M3 method output will not be there. There is a mistake, EXCEPTION. Compile, compile successfully, execute. Right. See, M3 statements you are unable to print. If you want to print M3 statements, I'm giving zeros here just to show you people M3 is executing. First line is executed successfully. After that there is exception. If the exception is there, remaining statements of M3 will not be executed. Okay, M3 will not be executed. First zeros will be there, then ones, twos, threes will not be there. Observe the output. Compile, execute. So zeros are there, ones, twos, threes are not there. Okay, ones, twos, threes are not there because this is abnormal termination. So stack will be removed the M3 method call entry from the stack. M3 is abnormal termination. It will goes to M2. As part of M2 exception handling code is there. That's why it is executed M2 method. Suppose exception handling code is not there here. If it is not there, then so this will also not executed properly. Right. So that means you don't get this output. So this is also abnormal termination. So M2 method entry will be removed from the stack and it will go to M1 method. So I think I missed M1 here. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So M1. So as part of M1, so it will verify is there any exception handling code. So try block I added, catch block I added. Right. So in this case, what happened? As part of M3, exception is there. So M3 only zeros will be printed, remaining won't print. So it will goes to M2. M2 is not handling exception handling. So this is abnormal termination. It won't execute. That means in the output screen only zeros are there. So after that M2 will be removed from the stack. It will goes to M1. As part of M1, exception handling code is there. So you are handling the exception, remaining code will be executed. That means from M1 will be there, from main will be there. So first zeros will be there. Zeros from M1 main. Right. So compile the code. Right. Java C A B. Right. Compile. So execute the code. So you will get zeros from M1 from main. Right. So from M1 from main. Right. So now you just try that one. Add here as part of M1. So M1 means method call of M1. So here. So try block. Add the catch block here. So you are calling from instance block. Right. Right. So in this case, M3 is abnormal termination, M2 is abnormal termination, M1 is abnormal termination. So if there are any statement as part of instance block statements will be executed. Right. So instance block. So please concentrate. This is important. Spelling mistake. SYST. Compile, executed. So you are getting instance block only. So after that main method. So why? Because you created object at the time instance block is executing. After that remaining statements of main method is executing. So if you don't have exception handling code here also, right? So if you have exception handling code here, so in this case you don't get instance method block output also. Compile, execute, right? So zeros and main method, that's it. If you don't have main method also, this exception handling code if you don't have in main method, then in this case main method output also you don't get it. So now the handling code will be there as part of who will call the main method, JVM will call. So JVM, as part of JVM, default exception handler is there as part of the default exception handler, so it is handling the exceptions. So that's why you are getting this at last output, this output, right? So the conclusion is, so in default exception handling, so if the programmer is not handling the exceptions, so first it will not throw any exception directly. First it will verify. So anyhow, if there is an exception, so this method will be terminated abnormally. It won't throw enter except, it will not directly terminate it. So first it will verify who is calling the M3. So as part of M2 is calling, as part of M2, is there any exception handling code? If exception handling code is there, so remaining program will be executed normally. If the exception handling code is not there as part of M2, M2 will be terminated abnormally. Now it will go and verify who called M2. So M2 is called by M1. So inside the M1, so is there any exception handling code or not? It will verify. If the exception handling code is there, so normal execution. If the exception handling code is not there, so terminate of M1 method. And it will verify who is calling M1. So in this case, M1 is calling by instance block. It will verify as part of instance block exception handling code is there or not. If it is there, normal execution from this point. So if it is not there, so it will go and verify where the object is created. So it is created object here. As part of this, is there any exception handling code or not? If the exception handling code is there, remaining part of main method will be executed. If exception handling code is not there, so this will be terminated abnormally. Then who is calling main method? It will go. So who is calling main method? JVM. As part of JVM, default exception handling handler is there. So that will take care of exception details, right? So every method where the exception is raised, the method is responsible for creating the exception details with exception name, exception description, stack trace. So in this case, default exception handler is taking care of that. So this is default exception handling mechanism. If you are not handling the exceptions, so even if you are getting the exception details, from where you are getting the exception details based on the runtime stack, so default exception handler will collect the details and it is throwing the details to us. So that's why we are able to see the output screen. Right. So any doubts here? So this is very important. Please try to understand. Any doubts? This is important. Default exception handling mechanism. So why? Because they will ask the questions in this way. It's connected. Right. Now we will see how to handle the exceptions. Right. So you already know what is the exception, what is the error. So actually, what are the types of exceptions? So there are two types of exceptions: checked and unchecked. Right. So if you want, we will go through the exception hierarchy. Okay. Slowly we will go through the exception hierarchy. So now we will try to learn so how to handle the exceptions. Right. For handling the exceptions, we will use try block and catch blocks. First one. So these are blocks only, not methods. So it will start with the keyword, try, keyword, and catch. Right. So catch will be like this. Right. So this is not a method. Open close is there. This is not a method. It contains parameter also. Right. This is not a method. If it is a method, it must be having return type. This is not a method. This is a block only. Right. So if you save this file, you will get keywords. Okay, I am writing here itself. Right. So try block, catch block. So try open brace, close brace, catch open brace, close brace. So what is something is something I written here. So this is class name, this is the reference. So if you write like this, integer a, so what is the meaning? This is data type, this is the reference normal variable, primitive variable. So if you write like this, so in this case, this is a data type, this is a variable. So if you write like this, so this is a class name, this is the variable name. Like that. So data type, variable name, data type, variable name, data type, variable name, data type, variable name. So these three are class types, existing classes. This one is existing class, this is existing class, this is user defined class, right? So existing class name, variable name. So if variable is of type class type, this is called reference. So in this case, so this is the existing class name. Every existing class is available in some package. So in this case, exception class is available in java.lang package, right? So this is the reference e. For this class, this is the reference variable. So why we are writing this one, I will let you know, right? So first we will discuss about try block. So inside the try block, what kind of code we will write? If there is a chance to raise a exception, so that kind of code we will write inside the try block. So there is a chance of raising exception means at runtime you don't know either the memory is enough or not. At runtime you don't know maybe the array size is enough or not. Maybe at runtime you don't know at array which location you are getting the value. Suppose array size is 10, you are trying to get array 11th location value. If location is not there, how you will get the value? It's not possible. In the same way, suppose a object is assigned with null. So from that object, if you are trying to get the data, so from null you are not supposed to get any data. So in that case, you maybe get some runtime exception, right? So some arithmetic operations are there. Maybe you will get runtime exception. Integer by integer, both are zeros. Maybe infinity value, division by zero, arithmetic exception. So division by zero, both are zeros. Zero by zero means you will get not a number. So in these cases, you will get arithmetic exceptions, right? So what kind of code? There may be a chance to raise a exception. Suppose like so you are trying to read a file, so you written a file name. So maybe some person is deleted that file. So file is not available. In that case, it is unable to load that file. So yesterday the file is available, today the file is not available. In that case, it will raise exception. So that kind of code you will write inside the try block. So if there is a chance to raise a exception, so that kind of code you will write inside the try block. Okay. Then what kind of code you will write the catch block? So both are these are mandatory. If try block is there, you must write catch block. Or you can write finally also, no problem. But try is there, you write either catch or finally. Without a try, you are not supposed to write catch or finally. For writing catch block or finally block, try block is must. But whenever you are writing try block, either you can use catch block or finally block, that is up to you. Right. So if there is an exception as part of the try block, so it will collect the exception details. That means like exception name, exception description, exception stack trace. All these details it will collect and it will make it as an object. So it will forward that object to this reference. So it will collect all the details of exception. It will create like an object. It will forward that object to this reference. So inside this catch block, using this reference, you can print the exception details. So using this reference, you can collect all the information of exception, you can print or you can do something else with that exception details, right? So we will try catch blocks. So class, I am writing a class name is ABCD, open brace, close brace. So inside this main method, so string arguments, right? So you can call method, one method I am calling M1 method. So I will write M1 method as a static method. right? So inside this method, so I will write some statements. So in this case, what will happen? So where there is a chance to raise the exception, suppose I will take some values from input. Okay, maybe it will take. Okay, no problem. I will write the code. So I am writing a scanner class. So to read two integer numbers, I am applying next int method. Right. So I will ask the user to enter a and b values. Right. So once he is enter the a and b values, I am trying to print the result of a and b values, a by b. Right. So I am trying to execute this program. Scanner class is available in java.util package. You need to import it. That is not a default package. Import java.util.star. So compile the code. abcd.java. So I am trying to execute it. So it will ask the user to enter a and b values. Enter a value, b value. Suppose I am giving 10 as a value, 2 as a b value. I am getting the result as a 5. So this is valid. Suppose at runtime I don't know what to pass. So it is asking me to enter a and b values. I am passing a as a 10, b as a 0. So in earlier case, I am able to see all the statements hello 111, hello 222. Then after getting the result hello 111, hello 222. So in this case 10 by 0. So that means it will throw error. So see the output. So first it was printed first two lines. First two lines were printed. After that it is getting the exception details. So remaining lines are not executed. So that means there is a chance to raise the exception at line number 17. So that means we don't know based on the user, it may be raised a exception. If there is a division, so it is better to handle that exception at line number 17. So how to handle the exception? By using try catch blocks. Right. So I'm writing try block, open brace, close brace. So only if you try only with the try block, so it will throw compile time error. So see here. So if try block is there, you must add either finally or catch block. So it is throwing error message saying that try without catch or finally. So try without catch or finally means if try block is there, you must write either catch block or finally block. So I am writing a catch block here. Catch, you must write one exception object. You must pass a parameter exception type, any type. So at this moment I am passing exception only. Right. So here I will write some statement. So something wrong. So in this case, what will happen? You are using try block and catch block. So what will happen? So at the time of this line execution, there is an exception. If b value is zero, you will get exception. If exception is raised, so immediately it will not terminate. Why? Because exception handling code is there. Exception handling code is there. That means try block and catch blocks are there as part of main method, M1 method. Right. So it won't terminate abnormally. First it will collect the exception details from here. So what is the exception name, what is the exception description, where the exception is raised, all these information will be collected, and those will be passed to this catch block. Those will be collected, all the details are collected. It will create an object, the object will be passed to this reference E. So whatever the details are there, those will be as available as part of this E. If you want to use this E, that exception details you can use as part of this catch block. This is a local variable of catch block, you can use as part of this one. If you don't want to use it, just print this statement. So I am not using it at this moment, so I will execute this program. So it will not execute this line, so it will come to catch block, it will print the remaining lines of code. So normal termination. So compiling the code, executing the code. So it is asking me to enter the values 10 and 2, normal termination. Again I am executing. So 10 and 0. See here. So in this case it will not terminate abnormally. So it will execute the remaining program also. Why? Because we are handling the exception. Right. So it was printed. So remaining lines it was printed. It went to cache block. Remaining statements are executed. Right. Now if you want to print the exception details, you can directly print the exception details using here E. If I am trying to print the E, that means class reference. If I am trying to print the reference at the back end, it will call toString method of exceptions class. So it will call toString method. So at this moment, if you are unable to understand, no problem. So if you are directly printing the reference, so actually in normal case, you will get a class name at the red symbol. So memory address in hexadecimal string format. If you print the reference, in this case, so it will call the toString method. So as part of toString method, they are overridden to print the exception details. Right. So if you are unable to understand what is this toString, so don't problem, no need to worry. I will explain as part of object class. So compile, execute. So in giving the values 10 and 0, so you are getting the exception details. You are getting only exception name and a description, nothing else. Right. So for printing the exception details, you have two more methods. So directly you can print the reference, or you can print. So you have one more method, print stack trace method. Get message method. You can apply toString method also. So in these three ways, so in these four ways, you can print the exception details. So observe here first case. So you already saw. Just separating the lines. So all these are used to print the exception details. So I am trying to discuss what are the methods are there to print the exception details. So actually I told you, right. So exception is there as part of try block. So it will collect the exception details including exception name, exception description, and stack trace. So it will create an object for all those details. It will forward the object to this reference. So using this reference, you are able to print the exception details. So here you are directly printing E. So it will print the exception name and exception description. You already saw that one. Exception name and exception description. Right. So next one you are printing separate line. Then stack trace method. You are applying stack trace method. So just I will compile. Is there any compile time errors? We will check. Don't have any compile time errors. So we are applying for print stack trace method. I am commenting remaining lines. So observe print stack trace method I am executing. I didn't compile it, sorry. I didn't compile it. Compile, execute. So 10 by 0. So these details, first details. So you are getting, when you print E, so you are getting these details, exception name, exception description. Then separator. So separator is here. Then you are getting the details, below details, exception name, exception description, exception stack trace. Right, stack trace means, so where you are getting the exception, line number 19. So line number 19, you are getting the exception here. So as part of which method? M1 method. Who is calling M1 method? Main method. So these details are called stack trace. So it is printing these details, stack trace. So how you are getting all these details? If you call print stack trace method, you are getting all the details. Print stack trace method, you are getting all these details. Right. So after that, normal execution. So you can use other methods also to print the exception details. Other methods are get message method. If you apply get message method, you will get only description. Right. Observe the third statement. Compile, execute. So 10 by 0, you are getting only description. After the second separator, you are getting only description, division by 0. Only description. If you want only description, you can apply get message method. So last one is normal method only. So if you call directly E at the back end, it will call toString method. So directly instead of working back end, so I am directly calling E dot toString method. So in first case and last case, you will get the same output. So if you print directly E at the back end, it will call toString method only. So instead of that, I am directly calling toString method. So first case and last case, you will get the same output. So compile, execute. So 10 by 0. First case, what is the first case? This one, arithmetic exception, division by 0. Last case, arithmetic exception, division by 0. So both cases you are getting the same output. But in middle, you are printing stack trace, you are getting all the details. You are using get message method, you are getting only description. So these ways, by using these ways, you can print the exception details. Right. So actually, so if there is an exception in real time scenario, they will maintain the log files. So if applications are running, so if there is an exception, it will maintain the log files. So if there is an exception, it will log the details. Right. So for that, you are using logger concept. Logger concept is there. Right. Is there any doubts in this? Do you have any doubts? Right. Anyone? If you don't have any doubts, so we'll continue. Or we will take tomorrow morning. Okay. It is better to take tomorrow.